Under the pale, sickly moonlight, Ravenwood Manor rose like a colossal specter, standing defiantly atop the jagged hills. On the outskirts of Salem, Massachusetts, ancient oak trees, their brittle branches stretched outward like the claws of death, intertwined above, blocking every sliver of light, as if even the moon was too afraid to shine here. The rusted iron gate, twisted by time, screamed with each gust of cold wind. The sound wasn't just metal, it was a whisper, a desperate plea, like a soul begging to be released. The shattered windows of the manor gleamed faintly in the silver light, but if you looked closely, you'd see shadows, blurry shapes flitting past, so fast they could stop your heart. More than a century ago, in 1850, the Ravenwood family, a wealthy lineage cursed by dark secrets, built this mansion on blood-soaked soil, where the Salem witch trials once claimed innocent lives. Ezekiel Ravenwood, the family patriarch, was more than just a merchant. He was an obsessed alchemist, drawn to forbidden books and dark ancient rites. Whispers told of a bargain, that Ezekiel sold his soul to protect his fortune. But the price he paid was far more horrifying than anyone could imagine. The stone walls of the manor, cold, cracked, seemed to breathe, exhaling the remnants of curses that had never been broken. The people of Salem never dared to come close. They spoke of crying voices, echoing from the hearth, and shadows crawling through the halls. On moonless nights, they called it the house that never sleeps. Then came 1860, a night that turned Ravenwood into a legend of terror. A secret ritual, deep within the cellar, went horribly wrong. Something ancient was released. No one knows exactly what happened, but a blaze, unnatural, magical, consumed the house. The entire Ravenwood family vanished in screams. Only the scorched walls remained, marked forever by something that didn't belong in this world. Since then, the manor was left to rot, but the curse, it never died. It waits for anyone foolish enough to cross the threshold. The story begins on a cold autumn night. Sarah Coleman, a young vlogger obsessed with the paranormal, brought her friends Jake, Mia, and Ethan to Ravenwood, cameras in hand, flashlights dim, hearts pounding. They stood at the gate. Sarah smirked, joking about ghost hunting, but her voice trembled as the wind carried a long, low moan from somewhere inside. Jake, always the skeptic, scoffed at the legends, but his eyes darted nervously, as if the shadows were watching. Mia, sensitive to energies, gripped Ethan's hand tightly. "I feel like someone's watching us," she whispered. Then they pushed the gate open. The screech of rusted iron wasn't just sound, it was a warning. The front yard was a graveyard of neglect. Dead rose bushes, black and wilted, curled like twisted hands. A raven perched atop a broken angel statue, cried out once, sharp, metallic, then disappeared into the dark. Sarah raised her camera, recording the mansion's front door. Strange carvings glowed faintly under the moonlight. She inhaled deeply, turned to her unseen audience, and whispered, "This is Ravenwood Manor, and tonight we're going to uncover its secrets." But as the heavy door creaked open, a blast of freezing wind struck their faces, carrying the stench of ashes, and a voice, soft, distant, from somewhere not quite alive. "Welcome." They didn't know it yet, but the moment they stepped inside, they had awakened something that had been waiting in the dark for a very, very long time. Stepping into the main hall of Ravenwood Manor, the group was immediately swallowed by an overwhelming heaviness, as if the darkness itself was tightening around them. Sarah's flashlight swept across the room. The beam landed on portraits lining the walls, faces of the Ravenwood family, eerily lifelike, their oil-painted eyes seeming to glint with every flicker of light. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet. From the depths of the corridor, a distant wind howled, carrying something colder than air. Mia whispered, voice trembling, "It's like the house is breathing." Jake flinched as a door slammed shut somewhere far inside, unclear whether it was just the wind or something else. Sarah led the group into the library, where towering shelves thick with dust stretched all the way to the ceiling. On an old wooden table, a black leather-bound book lay open, its cover marked with a strange sigil, a magical circle etched deep into the hide. It looked as if it had been waiting for them. Curious, Sarah opened the book. The yellowed pages were filled with arcane symbols, drawings of blood rituals, and unreadable incantations. She couldn't help herself. She read a line aloud. Her voice echoed in the silence, sharp, ancient, like a knife dragged across the soul of the room. Suddenly the flashlights flickered. A freezing gust blew through the library, carrying the acrid stench of ashes. The book trembled. Its pages turned on their own, and from beneath the floorboards, a deep growl rose up, like the stirring of something that should never wake. In the flickering light, the ghost of Ezekiel Ravenwood appeared, twisted, towering. His eyes glowed like burning coals. The manor pulsed, reliving its night of horror from 1860. Below the house, in the stone-walled basement, Ezekiel stood cloaked in black. A magic circle glowed beneath his feet, etched in chalk and bone. Red candles blazed. Smoke slithered upward like serpents. He was summoning something, a force not of heaven, but of shadows. He wanted immortality, but what answered was not divine, was void. It consumed, one by one. The souls of the Ravenwood family were devoured. Screams echoed, twisting through green-blue flames. A violent magical explosion shook the chamber, leaving behind only scorch marks, and the cries of his wife and children, forever imprisoned in darkness. Then, reality snapped back. The group screamed. Panic surged. Heavy footsteps echoed from upstairs, even though no one had lived here in decades. The chandelier above them began to sway violently, glass clinking like bones knocking together. Ethan shouted. He saw a child's shadow dart across the hallway, but when they turned to look, only darkness remained. Sarah's camera trembled in her hands, and then it captured it, a whisper, cold as the grave. Stay, forever. They rushed to the front door, only to find it sealed shut. No one had touched it, but it was locked, tight. Jake pounded against it, but it didn't budge. The Ravenwood curse had caught them. They were inside, and they weren't alone. Sarah clutched the book to her chest, realizing she had awakened something that should have stayed buried. The shadows thickened, and from deep within the corridor, a low guttural laugh echoed, a sound that chilled their blood and silenced their breath. The darkness inside Ravenwood Manor seemed alive, wrapping around the group like a starving beast. Sarah, Jake, Mia, and Ethan huddled together in the library, hearts pounding, as unseen footsteps echoed down the hall. Sarah's flashlight began to dim, its weak beam dancing across the dusty shelves where the faint silhouettes of the Ravenwood family floated past like mist. Then, a deep, icy voice reverberated through the manor. "You have chosen to stay," Mia screamed, pointing toward the portrait of Ezekiel Ravenwood. His eyes were glowing, burning with an unnatural light, as if staring straight into their souls. In her panic, Sarah pulled back a rotting rug, revealing an old fireplace long sealed shut. Inside she found a wooden box, carved with the same arcane circle they had seen in the book. Within it, a silver ring, the conduit of the ritual, from 1860. The moment she touched it, the entire manor shook violently. It screamed. From above, the chandelier shattered, glass raining down like shards of ice. A gust of wind, freezing and thick with the stench of ashes, swept through the room. Then, they appeared. The ghosts of the Ravenwood family. Ezekiel led them. Draped in a torn black cloak, eyes burning like coals, he stepped forward with a twisted smile. "You have freed us," he growled, "but the price is your souls." The ghost closed in, his wife, her face pale and hollow. The children with empty, vacant eyes, silent and staring. They dragged the group into a twisted dimension. The manor warped, its walls dripping like wax, its shape bending around their screams. Voices of previous victims echoed from the shadows, agonizing, endless. Jake tried to run, but the floor transformed into skeletal hands, clutching at his ankles. Mia collapsed. In front of her, a mirror, but the reflection was wrong. She was trapped inside, banging on the glass, silently screaming. Ethan shouted Sarah's name, but his voice was swallowed by Ezekiel's laughter, cold and booming. Sarah clutched the ring, eyes wide in terror. She understood now. Touching it had triggered the eternal curse. Her camera fell. It hit the floor, lens cracked, but still recording. The footage, shaky and haunted, showed the manor, silent once again, as if no one had ever entered. But then, the camera panned to the grand mirror in the main hall. Inside it, The reflections of Sarah, Jake, Mia, and Ethan. Distorted, terrified, trapped. Their hands beat against the glass, but no sound came out. And then, Ezekiel's voice returned. Slow, rumbling, final. "Welcome to Ravenwood, forever." The mirror faded to black. The screen went dark, and the story closed with a chilling warning. Ravenwood Manor still stands, high on the hill above Salem, waiting. On full moon nights, some say you can hear crying from the old fireplace, and if you stand at the front gate, you might glimpse a silver flicker through the broken window. An invitation, a whisper, a curse. But beware, once you enter, you never leave.